Well, the US government shutdown is entering its 33rd day and it is starting to bite. Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, where are you seeing it the most?
Mostly at the airports right now. In fact, it's one of the few places you are seeing it. Keep in mind, Laura, that even though a government shutdown is a big deal, if you measure it by the dollars, not the number of people involved, but the dollars, only about 15% of the government is shut down. So the large entitlement payments are going out, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera. What's not happening are things like the national parks, which affect people who are going to the parks, but it's also affecting air travel. And that's millions of people every single day. The air traffic controllers are going to work. They're just not getting paid. They were supposed to get paid last Tuesday, and they did not. That was the first time they got a completely $0 paycheck. And some of them are simply refusing to show up for work. They're calling in sick, for example. It hasn't had a tremendous impact yet. It's been different from day to day. You might have one day with a bunch of cancellations and delays, and then the next day, not that much of an impact. But that is the place where we're really seeing it start to bite directly into ordinarily with people who don't really interact with the government. But when you get on an airplane, you do, and it simply doesn't have the level of support that it typically does.
Trump's not even talking about it, but it is starting to become an issue for him, isn't it?
Politically, both parties think they are winning. And I know as crazy as that
Which
sounds,
means they're probably both losing, Mick, right?
Well, either both winning or both losing. It depends on who you're trying to keep happy. If you're trying to keep happy your base, either on the far left or the far right, I think you could make the argument that both parties are winning. The Democrats are satisfying the anti-Trump wing of their party, and the Republicans are sort of satisfying the far right of their party that doesn't like the government mostly in the first place. But the huge swath of people in the middle are really upset. The bottom line, though, is that it looks like those folks in the middle blame both parties fairly evenly. And in any event, very, very few, if anybody, actually changes who they vote for based on a government shutdown. So it doesn't have the dramatic political impact that you otherwise think might happen.
No, Trump has got a lot of political momentum at the moment. He's had a lot of wins on the world stage in particular. The latest one was with President Xi. I mean, they looked affable enough. They looked like they got along. They said they've made deals on trade. And Trump, even in the last couple of hours, has hinted at a secret pact. What could that be about?
Who knows? I have no idea. And I don't think anybody really does. Keep in mind, Donald Trump does tend to think out loud. So if he mentions that one time, then you can sort of, pay attention to it. If he mentions it 5 or 6 times, then you have to actually figure out what it means. It was a good meeting with President Xi in South Korea. It wasn't a comprehensive victory, wasn't a huge trade agreement on all topics, didn't sort of, lower the temperature between the countries very much. But it did move the ball in the right direction. And the relationship between the two men seems to be as strong as it ever has been. And keep in mind, one of the things you worry about if you're an American, if you're Chinese, if you're sort of anybody in the Pacific is, what does the relationship look like? If Donald Trump picks up the phone to call President Xi, will he take the call, and vice versa? And right now, I think the answer is yes. So it's this cold peace, as opposed to a cold war that we had with the Soviets. This cold peace that we sort of had with the Chinese has warmed up a little bit, and that's good news. But we're a long way from being at normalized relations.
A cold peace. I like that. One of our guests also likened the two to mob bosses as well, where it's all nice to their faces, but how genuine that is, I don't know. Just quickly, Anthony Albanese, obviously the meeting went really well at the White House. Then there was that impromptu dinner where Anthony Albanese became Trump's right-hand man just for a few hours. Should we read into that? Should we just see it as it is? What do you think, Mick?
Yeah, I still think Kevin Rudd has got a problem, and Trump continues to mention that in passing. What I think he said, we forgive, but we never forget, and that is certainly Donald Trump's modus operandi. But the relationship, I think, with Albanese was always going to be better than it was, right? It got off on a very, very bad first couple of steps. But again, the underlying relationship between the countries is very strong, and Trump wants friends. And Australia continues to be one of our best one of those. So, yeah, it's, again, moving in the right direction. You're never all the way, in good with Donald Trump. You're never all the way out of the family. But Albanese sort of took a step for the better over the course of the last several weeks. And he's to be commended for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick Mulvaney, great to see you.
Thanks, Laura.